The survival industry wants you to buy gold. Gold coins, gold bars, gold ETFs. They'll tell you precious metals are collapse insurance, store of value, hedge against chaos. Here's what they won't tell you, because it would destroy their entire business model. In the first 90 days of any documented societal breakdown, gold is practically worthless. You can't eat it, you can't purify water with it, and when someone's family hasn't eaten in 3 days, they're not trading food for shiny metal. They're trading food for the things that keep them alive today, not theoretical wealth preservation. Survival. Siege of Leningrad, 900 days. Nearly 1 million civilians dead from starvation. You know what people traded for bread? Cigarette lighters, matches, jars of salt, bottles of iodine. Items you could buy today for pocket change. The gold sat in drawers while people froze to death 10 feet away from it. Because gold doesn't purify water. Gold doesn't start a fire. Gold doesn't disinfect a wound. Gold is a promise that tomorrow will look like yesterday, and in collapse, that promise breaks first. I'm Fallout Rat. I analyze documented collapse economies using historical evidence from actual societal breakdowns across 4 continents and 100 years of data. Today, I'm showing you 5 categories of items that functioned as actual currency in documented collapses. Not theory, not prepper fantasy. Historically verified barter economies where these items determined who survived and who didn't. Total combined cost under $50. And at the end, the one barter security protocol that could save your life. Break it, and the trade you make today becomes the threat that kills you tomorrow. Let's start with number 5 and work up to the single most valuable item in documented collapse barter history. Number 5. The item that appears in every documented collapse barter economy without exception. Disposable lighters. A $1 Bic lighter, the most boring object in your junk drawer, and in collapse, worth more than its weight in gold. Literally. North Korean famine, 1990s, known as the Arduous March. Estimated 2 to 3 million dead from starvation. The state economy ceased functioning. Official shops, empty. Ration cards, worthless paper. Black markets called Jangmadang became the only economy. In the northern border regions where winter temperatures hit -20 Celsius and firewood was stripped from every hillside within walking distance, the ability to make fire wasn't convenience, it was the dividing line between living and freezing to death before morning. Defector testimony collected by South Korean researchers documents lighters as consistently among the highest value trade items. A single working lighter could feed a family for days. Why? Because fire is the master resource. Fire purifies water. Fire cooks food, killing the pathogens that turn scavenged meals into death sentences. Fire provides warmth. Fire is light in darkness. Fire is a signal. And something hardwired in human neurology for 100,000 years of evolution calms down around flame. Soviet collapse, 1991, when the ruble became worthless overnight and an entire superpower's economy disintegrated in months. In rural areas without electricity, without gas supply, lighters and matches functioned as parallel currency. Services were rendered for boxes of matches, plumbers, electricians, doctors, because the person who could reliably make fire controlled access to every other survival necessity. The math should send you to the store immediately. A Bic lighter produces approximately 3,000 ignitions. At $1.50 each, buy a 10-pack for $12. That's 30,000 potential fires. Stock 50 lighters, $60 total, you have a post-collapse bank account. Why lighters specifically? 3 reasons they're superior to matches in collapse scenarios. 1. They function in wind. 2. They're self-contained, no separate striker surface. 3. They work when wet, after drying. Matches get damp once and they're expensive cardboard. Storage. Keep them away from heat and direct sunlight. Bic lighters last 7 to 10 years if the seal stays intact. The butane doesn't evaporate. And here's your strategic distinction. Stock both lighters and ferrocerium rods. Lighters are your barter currency, what you trade. Ferro rods are your personal fire insurance. They work when lighters fail. 10,000 strikes minimum. You never trade your ferro rod. That's survival insurance. The lighters are business inventory. Barter value, immediate and permanent. Fire capability doesn't lose trade value over time, it gains it. Every day without resupply, your ability to provide fire becomes worth more. The person who controls fire controls everything.
Number 4, and the cost to survival ratio on this should make you angry. Water purification tablets. 50 tablets, $3. Each tablet purifies 1 liter. That's 50 liters of confirmed safe drinking water for the price of a gas station coffee. Now flip it. Without clean water, the average person develops waterborne illness symptoms within 48 hours. Cholera can kill a healthy adult in 12 hours through dehydration. 12 hours. Cyclone Idai hit Mozambique March 2019. Flooding contaminated the water supply for over 1.5 million people across 3 countries simultaneously. Within 2 weeks, over 1,000 cholera cases. Within a month, over 5,000 confirmed cases. The international response was massive, but here's what nobody talks about. The gap between disaster and aid arrival is always longer than governments promise. Always. The people who survived best were the ones who had any form of water purification, tablets, filters, even just knowledge of proper boiling protocols. Those people didn't get sick, their kids didn't get sick, and their neighbors started showing up asking for help. Clean water went from background assumption to the single most valuable commodity in the region overnight. Same pattern after the 2015 Nepal earthquake. Same after Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, 2013, when storm surge contaminated freshwater sources across entire islands. Same after every single infrastructure collapse in recorded history. The pattern is so consistent, it's basically a law of physics. Clean water becomes the most critical survival resource within 72 hours of infrastructure failure. Not food. The human body survives weeks without food while still functioning. Not shelter. You can improvise shelter from almost anything. Water. 3 days without it and your organs start shutting down. There's no improvising water purity. You either have the means to make it safe or you're gambling with your life every single time you take a sip. 3-tier water strategy. Tier 1, immediate, purification tablets, light, cheap, 0 skill required. This is your barter stock and personal supply. Buy at least 200 tablets, $12. Tier 2, medium term, a gravity-fed filter like a Berkey or Sawyer for household volume. This is for sustained personal use, not barter. Tier 3, permanent, knowledge. Build a charcoal filter from found materials. No boiling protocols. Knowledge is the one supply that can't be looted. Barter value. In the first week, moderate. After the first cholera scare, and it always comes, through the roof. Clean water goes from nice to have to I'll trade you my car faster than any other resource. $3. People spend more on a latte. If you don't have water purification tablets right now, you're not preparing. You're procrastinating.
Number 3, over-the-counter medicine and basic first aid. And I need you to understand this next part. In a world without pharmacies, a simple infected cut, the kind you'd put a Band-Aid on and forget, becomes a death sentence. Before antibiotics, mortality rate for basic skin infections was between 10 and 30%. A paper cut, a scraped knee, a blister that popped wrong, any of those could kill you. Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico 2017. The island's medical infrastructure didn't just get damaged, it evaporated. Pharmacies were destroyed or emptied within days. Hospitals ran on backup generators until the diesel ran out. Then they ran on nothing. For months, not days, months, people with basic medical supplies became de facto community medics. A single bottle of ibuprofen was being split into individual pills and traded for meals. Not the bottle,
Individual pills, one pill, one meal. That's how fast boring medicine becomes priceless when the system that makes it boring disappears. Lebanon, economic collapse, 2020. Currency lost 95% of its value almost overnight. A country with functioning hospitals in January was rationing electricity by June. Pharmacies became battlegrounds, not for opioids, for basic ibuprofen, antibiotics, bandages, the boring stuff, the stuff nobody thinks about until they need it, and by then, the shelves are bare. Your medical barter starter kit? Total cost, under $15. Ibuprofen, pain, fever, inflammation. Acetaminophen, same targets, different mechanism, stock both. Diphenhydramine, that's Benadryl, allergic reactions, sleep aid. Triple antibiotic ointment, infection prevention on any open wound. Butterfly bandages, wound closure when stitches aren't available. Electrolyte packets, dehydration kills faster than hunger. Rotate stock every 18 months. Most medications remain effective well beyond printed expiration dates, but rotation ensures maximum potency for barter. Barter value? Immediate and permanent. Medicine doesn't lose trade value over time, it gains it. Every day without resupply, your Tylenol becomes worth more. Right now, you can buy 500 ibuprofen tablets at Costco for about $8. In a collapse, each tablet could be worth a meal. That's a 500-to-1 return. Wall Street would commit crimes for those numbers.
Number 2, and this is the one that separates immediate survival from sustained survival. Heirloom seeds. The $2 packets hanging next to garden gloves at your hardware store. A single packet of heirloom tomato seeds contains roughly 25 to 30 seeds. Each seed, under halfway decent conditions, produces a plant yielding 10 to 20 pounds of tomatoes per season. That's potentially 500 pounds of food from a $2 packet. Show me a stock that returns 250 times your investment in one growing season. But here's where most people get this wrong, and getting it wrong turns your food strategy into expensive disappointment. You need heirloom seeds, not hybrid. Hybrids, the F1 varieties, won't breed true. You plant them, they grow, but the seeds from that harvest? Genetic lottery. Could be anything. Heirloom seeds reproduce faithfully generation after generation. One packet becomes an infinite food source. Cuba, 1991, the special period. Soviet Union collapsed. Overnight, an entire nation lost its food supply chain, fuel imports, fertilizer, everything. Urban farming became the difference between survival and mass starvation. Havana went from 0 urban gardens to producing over 90% of its fresh produce within city limits. People grew food on rooftops, in parking lots, in old tire stacks, in bathtubs filled with soil. And the people who had seeds, they didn't just eat, they became the most connected, most protected people in their neighborhoods. Neighbors brought them favors, local groups offered security, because they weren't trading a product, they were trading the ability to produce food indefinitely. That's not a commodity, that's a franchise, a permanent income stream from a $2 investment. Great Depression. Victory gardens weren't patriotic propaganda, they were survival infrastructure. By 1943, those backyard plots were producing 40% of all vegetables consumed in the entire United States. 40%. Not from industrial farms, from regular people who figured out the grocery store isn't a law of nature. Storage. Mylar bags with silica gel packets. Cool, dry, dark. Most vegetable seeds stay viable 3 to 5 years. Some, tomatoes, peppers, can push 7 to 10 years with proper storage. Barter value, moderate in week 1. Nobody's thinking about gardens while raiding the canned goods aisle. But after month 3, when people realize canned food runs out but gardens don't, seed holders become community kingmakers. The irony, the most valuable thing in a post-collapse world costs less than your morning coffee.
Number 1. The oldest documented currency in human civilization, and it still works. Salt. The word salary comes from the Latin salarium, salt money. Roman soldiers were partially paid in salt. Wars were fought over it. Kingdoms rose and fell over who controlled the salt routes. 5,000 years of documented history, and the reason hasn't changed. Salt isn't just flavor, it's survival technology. Preservation. Before refrigeration, salt was the only way to keep meat edible for months. Electrolyte balance. Your body literally cannot function without sodium. Wound cleaning. Saline solution is basic medical infrastructure. Food production. From cheese to bread, salt is a core ingredient. Post-World War II Germany. Before the Deutschmark was introduced in 1948, the black market ran on a handful of currencies. American cigarettes were the famous one. But salt, basic table salt, was traded at rates that would make your head spin. Winter of 1946, a kilogram of salt could buy you a week's ration of bread in the Soviet occupation zone. Not because salt was rare in Germany, Germany had salt mines, but because distribution networks had completely collapsed, and the salt that existed was controlled by whoever had the foresight to stockpile it before the bombs stopped falling. Access beats abundance. That's the lesson that applies to every item on this list. A 25-pound bag of iodized salt from Costco, $5. Properly stored, salt literally never expires. It's a mineral. It can't go bad. Repackage into 1-cup Ziploc portions. That's about 50 individual barter units from a $5 investment. Now add the morale multiplier. Spices, hot sauce, pepper, garlic powder. These make terrible food edible. When you've been eating plain rice for 3 weeks, someone with hot sauce is a community asset. Morale isn't a luxury in survival. Morale is what keeps you functional. Greek economic crisis, 2012 to 2015. ATMs limited to 60 euros daily. Banks shuttered for weeks. Entire neighborhoods pivoted to improvised barter networks because cash simply wasn't available. Community markets documented alcohol, olive oil, and salt as consistently top 5 traded categories. Why? Universal recognition of value. Doesn't spoil, serves multiple survival purposes beyond the obvious. Soviet collapse, 1991. Vodka functioned as a parallel currency across Russia for nearly a decade. Factory workers were sometimes literally paid in vodka because it held value better than the national currency. That's documented economic history from the largest country on Earth. When your money is worthless, shelf-stable goods with multiple uses become the new monetary system. Barter value, consistently high, steady throughout. You know what's beautiful about salt? It's so boring, nobody thinks to stockpile it. Everyone's buying tactical gear and night vision. You're in the bulk aisle going, yeah, I'll be the one still eating in 6 months.
You now have your collapse barter inventory. 5 categories, under $50 total. But none of it matters if you don't understand security protocols. Because bad trades don't just cost you supplies, they can cost you your life. Rule 1. Never trade from your home. Always use a neutral location, a parking lot, an intersection, any public space. The moment someone knows where your supplies are stored, you become a target. Doesn't matter how friendly the trade was, doesn't matter if they seemed trustworthy. Desperation rewrites people's moral code faster than you think. The nicest person on your block becomes unpredictable when their family hasn't eaten in 4 days. Rule 2. Never reveal your full inventory. Trade from a separate barter bag, a small pre-packed kit that looks like everything you have. Bring exactly what you plan to trade, nothing more. If someone asks what else you've got, the answer is always, this is it. The appearance of scarcity protects you 2 ways. It prevents you from becoming a robbery target, and it strengthens your negotiating position. Nobody gives you a good deal if they think you have a warehouse back home. Rule 3. Always bring a partner. 1 person trades, 1 person watches, no exceptions. The trader handles negotiation. The partner stays back, stays alert, watches everything. The trader, the environment, anyone approaching, anyone watching from a distance. The number 1 security failure in documented collapse trading scenarios, being alone. 2 people changes the math entirely. Rule 4. Start high, settle middle. Collapse barter follows the same psychology as any negotiation. The first offer is never the real offer. If your lighter is worth a week of food, open by asking for 2 weeks. Let them counter, meet in the middle. Both sides feel like they won. That's how you build repeat customers. And in a collapse, repeat customers are worth more than one good deal. Rule 5. Read the room. If someone seems too aggressive, too interested in what else you have, too eager to know where you live, walk away. No trade is worth an ambush tomorrow. And now, the deadly mistake. The one rule people break out of ego or stupidity. Never trade weapons. I don't care if they're offering a month of food for a handgun. The weapon you trade today could be pointed at you tomorrow. You are literally arming someone whose desperation level you've already confirmed is extreme. That's not a trade, that's a countdown. Libya, 2011. Fall of Gaddafi. Weapons traded or sold from state stockpiles didn't just change hands. They fueled conflicts across 3 countries for a decade. Scale that down to your neighborhood and the principle is identical. Every weapon you trade away is a threat you've created with your own hands. Ammunition falls in the same category. Every round you trade is a round that could be used against you. The math isn't complicated. The temptation is resisted. 5 documented barter categories, every one historically verified across multiple collapse scenarios. Number 5, disposable lighters, because whoever controls fire controls everything. Number 4, water purification, $3 between you and cholera. Number 3, over-the-counter medicine, when Band-Aids become treasure. Number 2, heirloom seeds, the infinite food franchise from a $2 investment. Number 1, salt and spices, the 5,000-year currency that still works. Total cost, under $50. Total survival value, incalculable. Now let's address the obvious question. What about gold? Gold isn't worthless. Gold is future state currency. When the immediate crisis passes, when some semblance of stability returns, when people start thinking beyond next week's survival, precious metals become wealth preservation again. But in the first 90 days, when the grid is down and supply chains are severed and your neighbor's kid hasn't eaten in 3 days, gold sits in a drawer. The lighters, the purification tablets, the medicine, the seeds, the salt, those items keep people alive. And the person keeping people alive has more power than the person holding metal. The survival industry sells you what looks valuable, shiny coins, tactical gear, things that make you feel prepared. I'm showing you what actually functions when the things you take for granted disappear. The documented pattern across every collapse in modern history is identical. Immediate needs dominate all trade. Fire, water, medicine, then production capability, then preservation and morale. That's not theory, that's historical economic reality from Leningrad to Havana to Mogadishu. Resource allocation question. Are you preparing for survival or for the fantasy of survival? Because one of those keeps you alive. The other one keeps you broke while sitting on a pile of metal nobody wants. This is Fallout Rat. I analyze what actually happens, not what looks cool. Subscribe for collapse analysis built on documented historical evidence, not precious metals marketing, not tactical gear fantasies, the unglamorous reality that determines who survives and who doesn't. Stay analytical, stay stocked, stay alive. Comment below, which of these 5 categories are you stocking first? And here's the real question. How much gold do you own versus how many lighters do you have? The math tells the truth about whether you're preparing for reality or preparing for marketing. Subscribe for collapse analysis built on documented historical evidence, not what the survival industry wants to sell you, what actually kept people alive when everything else failed. I've got more documented collapse patterns, and they're only getting more specific. This is Fallout Rat. The data doesn't care about your feelings, but it might keep you alive. Stay filthy, stay smart, stay rational.